How's everybody doing, man? I'm going to talk to you about some stuff that's actually, it's kind of things that were part of prophecy that came to pass, but there's not really an explanation on how things came to be in the Bible. First, we'll start off with the Cananites. Now, when Cain killed Abel, he fled to Europe, and so the purest blood people that descended from Cananites that are still in existence today, a lot of them became mixed blood over the years. But you have your Finnish and your Scandinavians. And so to this day, a lot of people don't understand the origin of some of the things that they have. They wear like an ankh, and they're made of stone, and they call them a Mjolnir. And the Mjolnir, it's an inverted T. They call it, a lot of people refer to it as Thor's hammer. And people don't understand the origin of that. Christ was crucified on a T-post, not a small T, on a large T. There was no, you know what I'm saying? It was flat on the top. And so their ankh, their pennant is inverted. It's a T-post that's inverted, people. And they're often made of stone. Well, the reason that they're made of stone is because Cain killed Abel using the stone as a hammer. And so, again, because the Canaanites were predominantly Luciferian in nature at the time, that group, now not all of them are, there's many Christians now, but they were pagans and heathens. And so in the early Christian church, when they decided, they were like, well, we're not gonna wear a T-post because the damn pagans and heathens are wearing an inverted T-post. And so let's not just say that we fucking did. And so then they created the cross that you know today, that's the small T. That was done to distinguish and separate it, because they didn't want any association with that, because the Canaanites were considered an inverted people at the time, especially that group. They were the pagans and the heathens. And so they're like, well, we're just not going to do that. We're not going to have a damn T-post because it's part of prophecy it's been removed, people, but that's the origin. That's why they're almost, nowadays they make them out of steel and stainless and all kinds of other shit. But the real pagans and heathens that still live up in Finland and Norse, or in the Scandinavian countries, they still wear them made out of stone. And again, it's a homage. It pays homage because they're descendants of Cain, people. And Cain killed Abel using the stone as a hammer. So what you see today used for the cross, that's why, for one, vampires, and we're all goddamn vampires. Everybody in the damn the Bible, not everybody, but a large majority of us are vampires. And turns out that's why we really don't like crosses that much, is because, for one, it's idol worship, but for two, when you've been crucified or your people have been crucified, it kind of leaves a foul taste in your mouth. You're kind of like that, let's not just say that we did. Now, is it that deep to us that we're like, oh, you can't wear your crosses anymore? No, because it's just become part of culture at this point. And just like the small case T cross has just become part of culture. But Jesus was not crucified on a lowercase cross. He was crucified on a T. All of this stuff is just, we've had the knowledge. You people have just forgotten about it, man. But it's all about prophecy. That's why the Canaanites carry the inverted cross. The inverted T is in the shape of a stone. And so with that, I'm going to branch on. There's a lot of people concerned about what's going on in the world with judgment. And I'm here to tell you, man, most nations are not going to be affected. Repent. It's that goddamn simple. If you're doing fuckery, repent. Repent. You're going to be all right. There's certain nations, predominantly, and I'm going to be honest with you, there's certain nations that are going to have die-offs. They're just, for one, people, they're set to have die-offs. In the United States, we're going to see a population collapse because none of our young people are reproducing. Why? Because they're all under Baal worship. They're aborting their children to pay homage to goddamn Baal. You've been gassed up and convinced otherwise that it's a women's liberation movement, a women's rights movement, and all this shit. No, you're sacrificing your offspring to Baal. That's all the fuck it is. So you can't have a population that's aborting all of their fucking children and not have a die-off when you have an aging demographic. We're going to have a die-off. That's something that's just going to come to pass. That's not really fucking... Now, poor decisions, you can call that judgment, but that's not God passing down judgment. That's people being fucking fools. I'm just being honest. That's ignorance. Just because you have experienced a die-off doesn't mean that God had a hand in it. It means that you were afforded free will and you chose ignorance. That's what the fuck that means. It doesn't mean that the angel of death came to see you. Now, there's groups I'm coming to see. There's groups I'm coming to see. Specifically, what I'm going to call the Gulf of David. And the reason it's called the Gulf of David is because that's where, after David slayed all these fucking giants, that's where he settled. Those are the descendants of David living on all the islands down there. And I'm going to be honest with you, David's goddamn offended. David was a righteous man. David was not perfect, but in the eyes of God, he was a righteous man. He had his shortcomings. All of us do. Every one of the prophets has shortcomings. That's why I tell you, God doesn't ever work with perfect pearls, people. All of us, every goddamn prophet God sends has shortcomings. That's part of our growth. That's how we grow. We have to learn how, you know what I mean? We have to return to God. David was the exact same way. But David was a goddamn monster. I'm just here to let you know, David was a monster. And David is fucking offended to this day. That's why these areas are under curse. That's why Haiti's under fucking curse. Dominican Republic's under fucking curse. And Cuba's under goddamn curse. It's because David's offended because those are his people, his descendants. David paid honor to God. And so David settled in the islands of the Gulf of David, and he bore a ton of children. And those are the descendants that inhabit those islands today. And again, they fell from the favor of God. How did they fall from the favor of God? Well, there were curses placed on them at different times. But ultimately, that whole fucking area is practicing goddamn Santeria. They're practicing goddamn voodoo. They're practicing fucking hoodoo. There's all kinds of fuck shit going on down there. The only ones that are in good standing with God and David is goddamn Jamaica, the Bahamas, and fucking Puerto Rico. And so that's why what's going to happen is coming to pass with those places. That's why they're under curse. That's why goddamn Haiti's the only fourth world country on the world. It's under curse, people. That's why Cuba's been locked the fuck down. It's under curse, people. That's why Dominican Republic's all fucked up and poverty ridden. It's under curse. And so things must come to pass. Now, is everybody going to disappear from there? No. But is a hell of a lot of them going to disappear? Yes. The reason they're going to disappear is because they're descendants of the goddamn house of David, and they're dishonoring God. They fell from the favor of God, and now they are falling under judgment. It's that simple. That's what the fuck that place is going on. And I'm going to seize the whole goddamn area. Every fucking thing's coming back to the goddamn house of David. I understand we got a bunch of fucking bleeding hearts out there, and God doesn't send me, you know what I'm saying? God does not send in the angel of death to fucking entertain bleeding hearts. I get my goddamn orders from one person. That's it. Faithful goddamn servant. God tells me what to do, and I go do it. And so God's telling me these areas are under fucking judgment. The judgment must come to pass. I'm here to weigh the hearts of people. I weigh the hearts. That's all it is. And so I know who the fuck's practicing goddamn Santeria. I know who's doing voodoo. I know who's doing hoodoo. I know who's doing all kinds of fuck shit down there. And so the area has to be cleansed. That's how judgment works, people. It's very simple. When a people fall out of favor of God and they don't wish to return to God, that people gets cleansed. So with that, man, peace and blessing be upon your home. Hopefully you took something from this. But just know, God sends me in to get shit done. It doesn't matter. I don't give a fuck who's got a bleeding heart. I don't care. I do my Father's will. And my Father's will, he's telling me all the Gulf of David is coming home. We're going to take that whole son bitch over, and it's coming under the umbrella of the United States. And that's just what the fuck it's going to be. It's attached to the land of the Gentiles because those people are goddamn Israelites. And we're going to bring our goddamn Jews home too. Our Canaanite Jews in Israel, they're going to fucking come home too. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You know why? Because I want my goddamn Canaanites to come home. That's why. Because I want all the goddamn tribes here. I want them all under the God. You know what I'm saying? I want to be able to hang out with all of them. And I need to keep an eye on them. Everybody knows that I'm not saying anything people don't know. Goddamn Jews can't be left out there. Canaanite Jews can't be left on their own. They cannot be left with a goddamn neighbor. So I've got to do something different with them. I'm not going to eliminate them. They're my goddamn people. I'm going to bring them fucking home. I'm going to bring them home, and they're going to live amongst me, and we're going to be goddamn content as hell. We're not going to have a fucking problem in the world. But they got to be under the umbrella of the United States, and they got to have their own goddamn living space because they just don't mesh well with others. And that's just, you know what I mean? They're God's goddamn people nonetheless. They're my goddamn people nonetheless. And so I'm going to bring my goddamn people home because they belong here with the goddamn house of David. So with that, peace and blessings be upon your homes.